Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Cryptid warfare, aka Drewski. You have found your way through the werewolf and dogman infested forest and into the fox den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy. Yet please, I have been sleeping for so long, and LordeStarfox really needs to feed. Absolutely delicious. I do appreciate the gifts, Drewski, and I will have to sip on them later. Without further ado, it is once again time for Cryptid warfare and Midnight Lycanthropy to take a walk into the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night. Ooh, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy. We do have a member, yes, you could say the founder of Cryptid Warfare, aka Drewski, once again rolling with us. You should be very familiar with that name. He is a busy guy. I wish I could get him on here more often. Yet when you do the things that Drewski does, they are time consuming. Plus, he does have a family. He does have his own research team. And to everybody out there that really likes individuals that decide to go on missions into insane spots in the forest and pitch black darkness, well, of course, yes, this is what Drewski does. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, Brozil. We're just under over here in Tennessee. I guess it's like tornado watch or something like that. So yeah, the weather here's funky, bro. So other than that, I'm doing good, man. Just put little man to sleep. Wife's about to go to sleep. My two daughters are in the other room playing cards, and I'm talking to my good buddy here, you Kenny boy, and drinking some good old Mountain Dew, dog.
Heck yeah, man. There we go. Let's keep it rolling. You must be near. I don't think I did that well when it came to geography, having to just remember off top hand in high school. Obviously, if I had a map, but they didn't let you have a map. Arkansas and Tennessee are kind of close, right? One of my friends I got done speaking to was actually dealing with the same thing you had just mentioned. The tornado watch, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Arkansas is literally like southwest.
Okay. Makes sense then, because he had said the same aspect. I guess it was a little away from him, but he said it was in the direction he was potentially if he had to go to work. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like whenever we get storms or whatnot, it always comes from Arkansas, Mississippi, and it goes up past us and in Kentucky or Carolinas.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that would manifest potentially right up in there. Well, to the audience tonight, we're going to have Drewski update us on some pretty interesting things he's been up to. Yet before that, on a humorous note, I mean, what do we expect? We obviously pissed off Mott Nature. I mean, she's going to let us know she's not too happy, right?
Yeah, I don't know what we did, but sorry, baby.
Seriously, it's so funny because when I watch Dual Survival, I don't really.
Oh, dude, I used to watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, well, Cody Lundeen is the man.
He was
used
the
to
dude
always
that
say-
wore no shoes all the time, right?
Yeah, man, like me, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I wear Vibram 5 finger toe shoes when I'm out and about, but if I am just around my house or out in the yard and stuff, I'm barefoot as much as possible. But yeah, he is absolutely awesome. I just remember one part, I believe he was with Dave Canterbury on this part. Dave came back with a bunch of frogs or something like that, and Cody was like, "Dang, Dave, did you leave any for my nature?" It was just funny.
wait, wasn't he the dude that was like special forces or something like that?
Yeah, there was like a couple
Yeah.
of them. There was like the sniper
Yeah.
guy that got in trouble for not being a sniper, and then there was the other guy afterwards that was like the special forces. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I really like watching that show, man. After he fell off, though, I kind of stopped watching it. So
Yeah, same thing, man. But no, it's totally awesome. And I've definitely been watching in the background when that's up because it's good information in general. I always like to learn. And if I'm able to multitask, meaning if I'm just working on images and such, I can have that up and understand what's occurring. But yet, if I'm working on audio, obviously, I can have it turned down a little bit depending on the conversation of who's talking. Well, it really all depends, I guess. Yet, I'm good at multitasking, a gift and a curse, you know?
no, yeah, that's good, man. Because I'm not. I'm like a dog with the squirrel. Like I'm focusing on one thing, and then if I hear something, I stop what I'm doing with that, and then I focus on that. ADD.
Yeah, no, I mean, like right now, I got the hockey game up in the background, sitting here talking to you. I just have a member of my science team and great scientist, Dr. Reed, messaging me, you know. So it's one
Dude,
of
that
those
is
things,
such a cool name, Dr. Reed, bro. It's like a Fantastic Four.
right? Yeah, no, she's brilliant. She's actually down south as well and owns a ranch and is a
Nice.
former athlete. And she actually has a farm and ranch where they have huge like show horses too. Super busy, yet I get to speak to her about once a month as well. So
Nice. Okay.
yeah, it's one of those things, man, just trying to make sure to have my science team, just make sure to keep on building and having others such as yourself that I can collaborate with, which is great stuff too, because it's really important. I'm just an investigative photojournalist, meaning, sure, I love to learn and I'm always about learning and giving people platforms so that I can learn more. Yet, I am pretty much like the analytics guy, I guess. Look at it as like football. All right. If you're, the head coach, offensive coordinator, stairs to
Intel
me.
guys.
Yeah. And you want to know.
Just like the military, we got your pipe fitters, we got your Intel guys. So it's all good.
Yes, exactly. I crunch the numbers for you, meaning, hey, if it's 4th and 3 and you go for this 100 times, what's your percentage? So
Yeah.
well, that's great stuff. All right, man. Well, would you like to update us a little bit as to what you've been up to, dude?
Yeah, man. As far as Cryptid Warfare podcast, it's been going good. I've actually been pretty steady. I had a couple dudes lined up, but you know how it is, scheduling issues. But it's all good. It's like I'm actually scheduled out till like almost July now. So I try to do 4 a month. But other than that, yeah, that's the most I do is just like 4 episodes a month. But as far as that, going over to CW operations and survival, that's actually starting to pick up, man. So I just I'm starting to do like investigating research and hunts and stuff I'm trying to collaborate a bunch of people. So on every investigation we go on, like a big one, I try to plan one big one a year now. So the big one I planned out, I actually got invited to it by Harley from Bigfoot information, whatever it is. But yeah, Harley, he invited me out. So, and then he hit up Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are, and then Doc from Prometheus Lens, and then Riley from Midwest Mythos. He never been on a cryptid research and hunt before, so. And then he asked me and my guys to go out there. That way we could provide security and basically making sure no one gets hurt and stuff like that, and just the whole safety aspect of it. And, kind of teaching guys how to track and how to cast footprints and how to set up perimeter alarms and stuff like that. So it was good, man. It was really good because we actually had a couple skeptics out there, and then definitely I enjoyed it because one, everybody left the way that they came in safe, and then two, a lot of those guys who never seen anything before or skeptics actually had an experience, and they saw it in the thermal lens. So they saw 2 Bigfoots, and then we found a lot of footprints, stuff like that. So it turned out really, really good. Really good.
Excellent stuff right there for sure, man. Always staying busy. Have you been doing anything else like that recently? Or you said you have been trying to set up something here in the near future too?
Yeah, so basically on the side too, we do like micro hunts or micro researching as well. Other than that, like I didn't know this, but one of the guys I got in touch with, Dr. Rhodes, he is a biologic and a animal, I guess, professor. But he is big into Bigfoot researching too. But the area I live at, and then digging more into the history here, dude, there has been a lot of Bigfoot sightings here, and I never knew that. It's like right here, like in my backyard. And then one of the example, like my father-in-law, total skeptic, not a skeptic anymore. He goes to this area that's 20 minutes away from me to cut wood on his friend's property, and that's where we get our wood from too whenever we do bonfires and whatnot. He was out there, him and his buddy were out there. They were cutting wood, chopping wood out there in the this guy owns like 100 acres or something like that. But they live way out there in the cut, dude. And as they were chopping wood, they started to hear screeches, screams, trees shaking, wood knocks, and then they started getting rocks thrown at them. And his buddy, who owns the land, was like, "Dude, we need to get back to the house now." And my father-in-law was like, "What the frick is going on?" And then he had a rocket thrown at him, and then he said that he heard 2 screams. One sounded like a banshee, and the other one sounded like a screaming woman. And then it totally freaked him out. And he's like, "I don't know what it was." He goes, "But listening to your podcast and a couple other people and doing some research," he's like, "I really think we had some Bigfoot activity out there." And then going back, talking to my buddy, Dr. Rhodes, he's like, "Yeah, man, there's a lot of, like, according to BFRO and there's been like a tons of sightings out there in that area." I was like, I never freaking knew that. Jeez. So I'm going to gather a couple guys, and we're probably going to go out there like in the next couple weekends, just to stay like probably 1 to 2 nights camping out there, just to gather up some intel and just to do some research and see if we see anything. So,
dang, look at you just staying good old nice and busy right there for sure. When you've been out and about, what is the closest situation that you feel you potentially could have been dealing with something you think was not human based or a known animal?
Okay, so I'm just going to say it, screw it. So the guy who went with us on this last trip 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that, we went to this area that Harley told us to go to where there was a lot of Dogman activity. So that's what I was prepped for, right? But you know how it goes, Murphy's Law, when things happen, when you don't want to happen, will happen. But instead of a Dogman research, it turned into operation. It turned into a Bigfoot operation. So this was probably the best intel, the best information gathering and witnesses we've had with us. So I like to set up traps. I wouldn't say traps. They're more like booby traps, basically. So I usually set up flashbangs around the perimeter of the camp, literal freaking flashbangs with tripwire, just so we can hear something coming towards us. I'm really not worried about the cryptid part. I'm worried about it's like mountain men, like rogue people who are out there, to do bad, or like bears. We had like a lot of bear activity. The area we were at, it was over by Gatlinburg. So there's a lot of bears out there, and that's the one thing I was kind of like worried about, making sure everyone was good to go. So, just worried about like the bobcats, the bears, stuff like that, and just people in general. So, anyways, it was like the second night. Jessica Jones, she was there the first night, but she had to cut out. But she also had an experience out there too. But the second night is where like it really ramped up. So to me, with researching and hunts and stuff like that, I like to stay at an area probably 2 to 3 nights, because the first night, you know, they know you're there. They're kind of observing you from a distance. The second night, they like to move in, you know, and the third night, they're just like, all right, you guys need to get out of here. But anyways, yeah. So on the second night, we were following like these tracks, and Harley was picking them up, and we're looking at them, measuring them. They're about like a good 14 inches long, about like 7 inches wide. They're pretty big, dude. And then we hiked in about a good 5 miles into the Appalachian Mountains in this area from our camp we were at. So I usually like to leave 4 people at camp. That way we can have like radio communication in case anything happens, and they could record anything that happens at camp too, right? So we left 4 people at camp, and then the rest of us, I think there's about like a good 8 of us, went out to this area. Well, the night prior, we actually found an abandoned boar trap. It looked like it was dropped from a helicopter. This thing's huge, but it was old. It's been out there for a long time. So this is where we saw the tracks lead towards and all that. And right next to it was like a stream. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. So we were having activity, but we weren't having solid activity, just hearing grunts, wood knocks, branches break, weird animal noises, and birds chirping at like 12 o'clock to like 3 o'clock in the morning, and like things that sounded like owls, but it was like clearly something was trying to mimic an owl. But anyways, going back to where on the second night, to where we went back to like that boar cage, I set up a flashbang on a fishing line through the cage on the other side of it, and I got blood. Just put it that way. I just got blood, and I mixed it with hot dogs and chum and stuff like that, and I wrapped around. I'm trying to think outside the box here. So I wrapped it around with the tripwire, and I put it on the cage on the outside. So something grabs it away from the cage, it pulls the string, the flashbang goes off, and we know something's there. So I told everyone, okay, I'm gonna set this up. I can actually send you the video too, Ken. I was setting it up, and then I was like, okay, so we need a good line of sight to watch it from the freaking night vision and the infrared camera. So I told everyone, I need you guys to walk out 50 feet out that way, and I'll meet you guys over there. So everybody walks out, and I get over there, and I'm like, okay, Harley, I need you to be on the infrared camera, and then Juan, I need you to be on the freaking night vision. Well, me and Kevin, from where the weird ones are, I'm like, hey, Kevin, I need your gun up facing the backside of us, and I'm going to do that too, but while you guys focus on the cage. And lights off. So we went straight black, straight dark, and lights off, and we just sat there, right? 5 minutes. It didn't even take 5. It's like about 5 minutes, man. We started to have activity. These things were coming down the freaking holler, dude. Coming down, and we heard them. Branches breaking, something walking across the stream. And then Harley starts freaking out. Like, I was like, dude, calm down. There's freaking 2 of them. And I'm like, I can't take his word for it. I gotta have other people look. So I told Kevin, look in it. And Kevin said, oh my God, there's 2 of them. Oh my God, there's freaking 2 of them, dude. And I said, all right, Riley, you look now. So then Riley looks, and he's like, and he just had a panic attack. And he's like, yeah, one's just sitting there just swaying. And they're literally looking at the bait right now, just looking at it, sniffing it. And then I was like, okay, so I'm still gun up behind us because I'm worried about what's behind us, right? Just listening. And then I told Juan's wife to look through it, and she's like, yep, there's 2 of them. And okay. And then Harley gets the camera back, and he's kind of like relaying to us on what's going on, but he's whispering now. And he's like, okay, one is literally backing away, going behind a tree, and he poked his head out again. And the other one's just standing there. The one that just stood there looking at us for a good solid like 3 minutes, dude, just looking at us, kind of like swaying like that. And then he started to back up, went behind a tree, and then that was it. So, and what's cool though is on the infrared camera, on Juan's infrared camera, it was actually like a record button, and they recorded it. So they're in the middle of editing it right now because Doc is making a documentary out of it. So we'll see what happens. So I didn't see it though, but I heard all the noises and everything what was going on, but I was just focused on the security part, and I wanted to make sure other people who came from different states to look through it and to have that experience. And they saw it. All of them confirmed it. All of them saw it, and 2 of them were skeptics.
Yikes.
So, and that was literally 50 feet away from us.
I could see how that would be potentially a little
Bro,
bit disturbing for sure, right?
it was, and what kind of freaked me out, because I usually have like my best friend Brian with me. He's another operator as well too. He was in law enforcement. You know, him and I work together, so I trust this dude with my life, with my kids. So it sucks when he's not there, because him and I feed off each other. Him and my buddy Paul, who's on the team too, they stood at camp and they were actually coming down to meet us. So as they were coming down to meet us, we're actually in radio communication with them as they're coming down. And as we're focusing on these 2 Bigfoots that were at the trap where I laid it out at, what was a trip was, as soon as they were coming down the mountain, they were about a good mile off. Those Bigfoots that we were watching that backed up from the trap and went behind the tree and went up the holler again, they took off towards them. And then next thing, like 3 minutes later, we're hearing on the radio from Paul and Brian, hey, we're hearing 2 bipedal things on both sides of us, tracing us, walking with us as we're walking towards you guys. So I was like, oh man, this is good stuff.
Yikes. Yeah, that is some pretty interesting, intriguing stuff yet when you're sitting there potentially getting your feet put in the good old fire right there, or the cauldron. I don't know. I could see how that would, well, cause certain individuals to not be so about that life anymore.
Yeah, and then one of our new guys, Juan, after Brian and Paul came down and met us, we were just telling them our experiences. We threw the lights on, went to check it out. So I checked the bait. It was still there. The flashbang didn't go off, but we were looking for footprints. We couldn't really see anything because there was brush and everything everywhere. There wasn't really good evidence of footprints there because there was so much leaves and everything on the ground. So it just that's the part that sucked. So I was like, hey, let's do this again since Brian and Paul are here. I'm gonna set up a cam light, which is a glow stick, right? So I broke it and I put it on the cage right above the freaking bait, right? So I set it there. It was like on the cage. So I was like, okay, we're going to split up in 3 teams. So me, Kevin, and Doc are going to go straight over there where we saw the Bigfoot, like the 2 big feet, like the 2 Bigfoots take off up the mountain. So we're going to go that way and hide out over there. And then Brian and Harley are going to go to the freaking west of us and go straight 50 yards that way to where we heard them crossing, another one crossing the stream. And then the rest of you guys, Paul, Juan, his wife, and Riley, you guys are going to stay put to where we were at, basically like in the beginning, right next to the stream as we're looking at the cage. They're like, okay. So I go, as soon as we go to our places, we're going to do lights off. We're going to go dark again, and we're going to see if anything comes back. So we did that, right? And then 3 minutes goes off after we shut off our lights and everything. It's just dark. Well, Paul, Juan, his wife, and Riley start getting contact on their side. They're hearing something running in the stream, running at them, right? And not only that, all of them get hit with infrasound. They're freaking out. One of them's about to pass out. And then Juan just got this feeling of just dread and terror. And all he was thinking about was his wife. And he got on the radio and he's like, dude, we got to go. We're going. We're out of here. We're going. I was like, whoa, what's going on? And he's like, we're getting contact over here. We got to go. Like, it's freaking me out. We got to go. So, and poor guy, this was his very first operation he's been on with us. so after that, they literally hiked out of there like fast. So my team, Kevin and Doc, were still at the spot we were at. And then Brian and Harley were at the spot they were at. So the problem was, though, when they took off, they had the heat vision scope with them, and they had the night vision. Well, my stupid butt, I left my night vision back at camp with Pops and Juice. That way they have something. But I didn't know that team was going to take off. So they did. So they took off. So we're like, all right, well, screw it. We'll just stay here and just listen and observe and see, just to see if we can see anything. So we're sitting there, and it's about like 10 minutes in. We're just sitting there. So Kevin and Doc sit down. I'm standing because I just got a feeling something's going to pop off. And then as I'm looking, Kevin whispers to me, he's like, hey, Drew. I was like, what's up, buddy? He's like, you know that cam light you have on that cage over there? I go, yeah, what's up? He's like, I don't know if I'm going blind or what, but is that cam light moving? And I look, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it is. It looked like someone grabbed the glow stick. It was doing like Harry Potter wand swishes with it, bro. Like that, up and down, side to side, whispering around. And then I'm like, nah. I always try to make sense of things before I jump the gun. Well, as I'm saying, I don't know, man. Brian gets on the radio and said, dude, that cam light is effing moving. So he had another point of view from where he was at watching the cam light. And he has a scope on his rifle and he's watching that cam light move. So I'm like, it's go time. So I said, F it, let's push forward. So guns up, lights on, we push forward, and that cam light drops, bro. And we roll up there, nothing's there. Just the bait and the cam light right there laying on the cage. It just dropped on the cage. So I'm just like, what the freak are we dealing with?
Again.
That's what I said. Huh.
No. Huh. Yikes. What do you think, the more you dive into this and the more time you spend out there and also the more information you gather, how do you feel about the whole Dogman thing? Do you lean in the direction of it being real, or do you think it might be misidentifications of known animals and also maybe potential Sasquatch mix-ups, or do you feel as if it's paranormal?
I think it's all three. The more and more I'm doing this, I think I've had more supernatural experiences happen and then like less physical. But there could be Dogman mix-ups too. There could be Bigfoot mix-ups, but I do believe that when people physically see these creatures, there's no way of mixing them up. A Dogman's a Dogman, a Bigfoot's a Bigfoot, a Gigway's a Gigway, right? But to me, Bigfoots are more curious than aggressive, but let me back that up too. But you know, there's a lot of cases like in Alaska, more in the South, stuff like that, where there are aggressive Bigfoots, and that's where you have a lot of missing people. But every Dogman encounter I've heard, and I know you have too, the majority of them are very, very, very aggressive, very, very aggressive. But as far as that, I do believe we had Bigfoot activity more than anything, or like supernatural activity. As far as Dogman, I do believe it would have been a different cup of tea, in my opinion, a different encounter for sure. But as far as that, I do believe it was a Bigfoot. But I don't know, man. I'm leaning to more of like the spiritual aspect of it too. Like they could be jumping in and out of portals. They could be really blending into their environment. Could be cloaking. I don't know, man. Like just that, it definitely opened up my mind because before that I was just a hardcore blood, sweat, and body physically. These things are here. I was more of like these things are just physical more than anything. Now I'm on both sides. Now I'm on the woo-woo side and I'm on the the physical side too. So I do believe these things can be both. But it was very, very interesting activity for sure. We're camped next to a graveyard too, by the way.
Yikes. No, that could add a little bit more flavor to the good old cauldron for sure. Yeah. Yikes. What do you think about this right here? Meaning there's a lot of interesting aspects now where some people have suggested to me, and now that I've dove into it more, we're going to say that the Sasquatch and such, well, what if they have always been tied in with the indigenous cultures, right? Okay.
Yeah. And
then if you look at once there was European interjection here into North America, way before the Loup Garou and the Rougarou aspects, all right? We're talking about just old school European aspects. Because if you look at like the cynocephali, it all seems like the whole Dogman type creature started off over there. What if they
Across
came
the
over?
pond, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why the Bigfoot and them beef, and that's also why there's like a cutoff on the territory.
Brother, I 100% agree with it. Like, to me, nothing's off the table, bro. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Right? Because it's just super interesting. And then if you also look at indigenous lores across the world and things, there could have easily been points in time, per se, where the Sasquatch like spread out, but it really does seem to be a big North American kind of thing, I feel, especially up in like Canada and pushing all down towards our area. It really seems to be the home and the stomping ground of, per se, the Bigfoot. Yeah, I mean, the Yeti and things, from what I understand, again, I don't dive into this, is different, all right? It seems to have more Neanderthal or ancient human type behaviorisms and has a way different description. I'm talking about what we hear in North America called, you know, the Bigfoot or whatever.
That's also too interesting aspect too. Also, like the Yowie in freaking Australia, different too, but like a different, same thing, but they're like, you know what I'm saying? But it's different.
Yeah, they look so creepy over there. I had a woman that works with us, Carrie Ann, show some interesting depictions of artwork and things that have been shown of that. And also somebody had submitted one to us, and I sent it to her being like, hey, what do you think? Is this a Dogman here or Bigfoot or Yowie? And she was saying there's two different versions over in Australia. You have the one that sounds more to be like the baboon Dogman or the Gugway, like the face eaters, which again, plenty of animals do that. That doesn't mean something has to be supernatural, but more or less there's a version that likes to munch on people, and then there's a version that seems to be more docile in the aspect of just trying to be out and about in nature. Yet I don't know, it's very bizarre. As I dive into this more, I hear from certain individuals that don't feel threatened. Yet when I look back in history and I see the Native Americans over and over again talk about how these Sasquatch-like beings would come into their village, take their livestock, take their children, take their women. You know, there was also a huge war that occurred between a group of Sasquatch and a group of Choctaw warriors.
That was with that French guy too, who's a part of that.
Yes, Lafleur.
Lafleur, yeah, Lafleur.
Yes, there you go. So you know it. And to the audience, I've covered it before, but long story short, is this group of very brave and very elite warriors, including a group of 4 of them that were brothers that were specifically trained to ride horses in battle with their father, came in and helped this other group of elite Choctaw warriors, and they tracked down this patch of forest that stunk. They went in there. Inside of it, there was just huge piles of excrement, just these things, you know, relieving themselves everywhere. Also, just torn up body parts. There was jewelry everywhere. They had a big battle, unalived all 3 of them. That's another case. And
dude, then the way Lafleur went out, bro,
insane.
Yeah, that's the way to go out, though.
And that was another thing I wanted to tell you too. Don't ever worry about necessarily potentially if you do slip up and you say something. I have a cool audio sound that's a dog bark. Yeah. I actually got the idea from Donut, where he always is talking about the police stuff, and whenever, you know, certain pew pews go bang bang, he has the quack quack quack. I was like, yo, wait a second. Every time if somebody slips up on my show, instead of having just the generic bleep sound, I'm going to have a dog bark. So
that makes sense. Hey, Lycanthropy, Dogman, that's awesome. That's
right. Yeah. I don't know why it took me so long for that to click, but every once in a while, like my uncle says, it takes a while for the hamster's cage upstairs to pick up something like that.
Better late than never, right?
Right. It's just so funny, though, sometimes. It's great, though. That's why you got to have numerous people look at pictures and bring in input, because I don't know how many times I'll see something from a perspective and then somebody else brings up something else and you're, oh, wait a second. It's just same things like what I just mentioned, just overlooking things, not even meaning to.
Yeah. Got you on that, man. Yeah, bro. And it was other than that, yeah, the trip was really really interesting. It was actually slow at first because it started to rain a lot like that first day. So everything was just soaking wet and everyone was kind of just huddled up in their tents and stuff. So me and a couple guys, all we brought was a hammock and tarp, so we were just tucked underneath that. But other than that, man, it was actually really good though. Good experience. I'm actually happy and glad for the guys who came from out of state and who were skeptics on this, and now it totally changes their view. That's all I want is people just to open up their mind and change their view on things. And if they get out of it coming, you know what, maybe there is something out there. That's it. I did my job. Everyone comes out safe. I'm good to go. So
Excellent right there. Great stuff. Here's something else that just popped into my head before I forget. There again, I don't really dive into the paranormal and extraterrestrial side of this, yet it was presented to me that throughout history, if you look at up in the sky and the constellations and the galaxies, there is one, I believe, called Sarin that has something to do with basically Canis lupus. Our line looks like a dog, and it has something to do with ancient peoples claiming that these dog beings came from this universe. Really interesting stuff. It was presented to me a while ago.
yeah, I think I heard that on a YouTube short, man. I was listening to that a little bit.
Yeah, again, like I find outer space and things to be awesome. I don't know the most about constellations nor star alignment. All right, I understand there's a North Star and such, but when I look outside, dude, I personally, again, don't really ever see a Big Dipper and a Little Dipper. I understand what people are saying, but that doesn't look to me in my head like a Big Dipper. It's one of those things where, you know, those old school, what was it, kaleidoscope, where you're supposed to look inside of it and see something. It was just like a bunch of glitter to me. Or those old school books where it was a bunch of dilated pupil and you had to look at all these little pixels that were basically dilated, and somehow when you scrunch your eyes, it would make the image. But I never saw those either.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't know, you gotta like walk it, you gotta walk me through it, you gotta draw it out or something.
Right. Yeah, it's like when I used to play in the grass with one of my exes, and she'd always see these crazy things in the clouds, and I'd be like, dude, that just looks like a set of clouds to me. That doesn't look like Puff the Magic Dragon or I don't know what you're seeing here, man.
That's good, man. Yeah, I'm the same way, bro. I like gotta really step back and think and go into my inner child, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's right. It's great to though have that outside, you know, view, because like just the other day, a case we're working on right now where, you know, once Jody wants it released and stuff, we're going to get it up on the website. A lot of my science team, including Jody, thinks it could look like a dog woman holding a pup, or maybe some sort of strange doll. But then some other members on my science team definitely think it's a female Dogman, but they think it's her pelvis and that she's just turned in a direction, almost looking potentially at something, which then could make it look like she was holding the infant. Either way, though, our whole entire science team does agree that something is definitely happening here and that these are legit images and videos. Again, though, super gnarly stuff with anything. If you go in, meaning, let's say someone submits an image to me, this is what I see in the image, then that's automatically painted that into my head. You see what I'm saying? And then when I look at the image, I see that too. And I'm able to then kind of outline that. But yet, if I just send that to somebody else, that might not be the first thing that they pick up on, especially if you're not telling them. If you're just like, hey, check this out. And they're like, oh, wait a second. This is what I see, what's going on. So, yeah, no, it's really good to have a bunch of different eyes. It's no different than when I'm editing, man, especially with images and such. I'm better at it now, but I used to, depending on what it is, sit on it for a night. Meaning if I'm not so sure the logo's the way I want it or the colors, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give my eyes tomorrow a fresh reboot. And then I'd say maybe 5 out of every 10 times, there's definitely something I end up changing the next day before I finalize it.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. It's like your brain's got to refresh, reboot, and then you can attack it at a different angle later. Also, too, you're right, man. It's like getting like another set of eyes on the subject, you know. It's been a lot of times like taking pictures or being in certain situations, looking at something, getting another point of view. It's like, oh, dude, I didn't freaking notice that. All right, good job, good looking out.
Exactly, because you're so honed in on something else. I don't work on cars, but I'd see that numerous times where you'd have a group of mechanics. One guy's working on it for so long, the other guy's like, "Oh, did you check this right here?" And boom, the guy's like, "Nah, crap," and he had been working on it for like days. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, it's like that fresh pair of eyes to reset it. Because especially for me lately, it's a good thing. But I feel like a SpongeBob character where I have to put a glass bottle on my head because my brain's been exploding. But I want to make sure that that brain stays in there. So I've been doing like so much stuff lately, which is good. I had a podcast earlier with my science team, linking up with you. As soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna work on some audio and images and also videos that Jody needs done from this case I just told you about. I also really would like to get a video out with my buddy Jesus that I've been sitting on for a bit. I do need more viewing hours, but I also can just make a thumbnail and go share around an older video. Yet I do want to do a little bit of that. And then I don't know what else I'll do after. Maybe I'll watch a little bit of something educational, man, before I pass out probably, but I'll be up till like 2 or 3 in the morning, man.
Yep. Night owls, brother. I know how that is. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse, dude. It is what it is, but that's just kind of how I've always been from when I was a little kid, thinking like, oh yeah, of course, all the cool TV shows or the things I'm not supposed to be watching are on late at night. And then when I was out like partying and stuff, when I was acting and modeling, of course, everything goes down at night. Usually you don't start partying at 2 in the afternoon. It's usually like at 11 or 12 at night after you're done what you're doing, whatever. I mean, I don't do any of those things now, but fast forward, it's just kind of bred into me, and I don't know, I like the nighttime and then the moon and stuff. I've always thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree, man. You know, back when I was in law enforcement too, whenever I worked graveyard shift, I was like, bro, the freaks are coming out at night. Love it.
Seriously, it is so true, man. Especially with all like the crazy people in general. I believe, I don't know the exact number, but my roommate's grandfather likes to watch law enforcement type shows, and this one was down in New Orleans, and it would blow your mind if you knew how many calls they get in just one night. It's insane for like the EMTs and stuff. You're like, holy crap.
Oh, dude, I would love to be an EMT because of the knowledge you get, but I would hate to be an EMT because of the bull crap you're going to deal with.
Yes, and some of the crazy stuff you see, but yeah, it would basically document this team that worked with like the firefighters and police, and you'd have different groups, but they would, you know, show each one of them from whenever their shift would start at, like, I don't know, maybe 8 at night or until like 6 in the morning. And you're like, holy crap, dude, I'm all set with any of that.
I know, man. That was one thing I liked it, but I hated, because as soon as you get to roll call, you're designated your zone or wherever you got to go, and you got to look on your tablet or laptop or whatever, and you got this punch list of things you got to deal with. I got to go here. I got to deal with that. There's a freaking domestic. What? There's a loiter who's naked. What the freak? You're like,
yeah, that's so crazy. Actually, I've always wanted to know the answer to this. And as we are starting to wrap this up, I mean, you're former law enforcement. Why is it that always before the police arrive, firefighters are always there, man? These guys aren't even armed and stuff, dude. Literally up here, bro. Always when something happens, whether it's a crash or anything, dude, the firefighters before the police do. And I don't know, I always wondered for that. What if it's like some maniac and stuff? I mean, that's not good.
yeah, well, I'm not, well, yeah, screw it. I got a lot of buddies who are firefighters too. We're always cranking on each other, but like the majority of the time, it could be because the police officers are dealing with a certain situation, right? All of a sudden, you get a call that's in your zone, and firefighters, they basically just chill out and wait for like a medical call or a fire. And like a lot of the times, you know, we're dealing with like domestics or missing people or stuff like that, you know, or whatever. But we could be in the middle of a call, and then I got to hurry up and wrap this call up before I get there. And by the time I get there, EMS and fire department's already arrived. So that's happened to me a lot. Or like, yeah, stuff like that. So, or honestly, the fire department could be closer. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Or also too, now when I was in, like, we actually had like a lot of guys who call out a lot, or certain guys wouldn't answer calls. That would piss me off.
Well, yeah.
Because you have those guys who freaking like dodge the call, like it's in that zone,
This
or
isn't
you have
Uber here.
or you have to deal with that zone, or like hey Martinez, you gonna answer that or what? And he's like acting like he's doing something. Then screw it, I'll do it. Then you go over there, and then he shows up after, like, where the freak you been at, man? Oh, I don't know. It just all kinds of politics and drama.
Yeah, I've just seen one too many crazy things. Like I said, I like to learn. So even I try not to watch too much of that potential stuff. Like I sent you Midwest Safety and also Ewu Explore with Us, and Donut's not so bad, but it's still bad stuff he's covering. But those other first two are really dark. I mean, I still learn a lot. I'm learning about the human psyche and such and how things are solved. But yet you're like, what the crap? So I try not to watch too much of that. Yet I just had noticed a lot of times, the firefighters showing up. But as you just spoke, it also would make sense that most likely the average firefighter is probably going to be trained better in safety aspects of medical treatment at that point in time, because they're working hand in hand with the EMT all the time. And if you're going in to rescue somebody from a fire, you have to know some sort of first aid that's pretty advanced, I feel.
Yeah, not only that too, it's also like a call too, because we all get like the same calls, right? But it depends on what it is. Now, let's say if this was like a freaking hostage situation or a gun threat or anything like that, EMS and fire department guys will stand back. They won't even get there. They'll be like a block away or far away enough for us to get there to take care of the situation, to provide security. Then they come in. But if it's any other call, like someone got in a car accident, or someone passed out or fell and cracked their head, like they're on literally on the laptop, it says like what it is, and they're gonna hurry up and get there before we are, because we're dealing with something else. So we're like, oh, they got it, and we just cruise up there, and then everything all good. There's really like not much we can do. We just provide security, take freaking notes, initiate the ticket or whatever, and then we just let them do their thing, And it's been a couple times, like when I was actually on SWAT, we had to do some training, and then we're driving out, and then like oh gosh, what was it? This lady got in this car accident, but it wasn't bad. We were on our way back to the freaking HQ to check our weapons in and stuff like that. We pulled over to help out, but the EMS guys and fire department guys were trying to lift this lady out, and poor thing, she was like defecating everywhere and stuff, and we're like, nope, man. I'll get paid for that, so we're out later. So, but it just depends on the call and situation.
That actually leads me into one more question. But when it comes to SWAT, right, I always wondered, why don't they just use like special forces? Meaning, is it because our military special forces are always occupied doing something else? Or I don't know, doesn't it seem like it would make more sense? Or I don't know, what am I missing here? It just seems like the SWAT people are kind of not really prepared like the way they should. But again, you know way more than I do about this.
Yeah, so it depends on like your precinct, right? So the sad part is when it comes to that, like basically like your local law enforcement guys who work corrections, who work sheriff's department, city police, all that. If they're regular beat cops, their only training is about every 6 months, dude. They just basically just keep up to date on what they learned in the academy, right? Which is crap. It's nothing. So you have to take the initiative to train on your own and get better. And then with SWAT, it also depends on like the city you're a part of, which controls the budget. So if you live in a metropolitan area like Nashville, Denver, LA, stuff like that, your freaking money flow is insane. So you get like the top tier training, right?
Okay.
And where I lived at in Colorado, I worked for the state. So we got a lot of training, and a good training, because when we worked for the state of Colorado, and it was flowing in a lot of money. So that's all I did when I got on, was I was just strictly just SWAT. So we train, work out, train, and then we go to calls and stuff like that. But as far as that, the military and stuff, they have different rules when it comes to like the Geneva Convention and stuff like that, and how they do things tactically are different compared to how we got to do it. Because special forces and stuff, when they go to when they go to hostage situations or basically like assaults and stuff like that, they're basically guns free. They don't have to really answer to anybody.
Okay.
With us, we have to be more methodically. Like every round we shoot, we have to account for that.
I was just going to say, it makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So with those guys, those guys are awesome. They do good stuff. They're more of like the pipe hitters, the door kickers. Like you get in,
Okay.
we're doing like micro battles in the stateside. So we have to abide by more rules. So we have to move slower, methodically, plan out stuff like that. And also too, like I said, it just goes to the budget. So if you work for some podunk town that doesn't really have a budget, like your SWAT team isn't going to be really that good, and a lot of that's just volunteers. So, they basically just, if they're low on people, they just try to get anybody they can get just to help out. But, it just depends on the situation too. Like if we're dealing with like a hostage situation and it gets way out of control to where it's bigger than what we can chew on, then we call to deal with it. And then there's a pipeline, so on and so forth, and they get the military in it, right? Okay. So, it just depends on the situation.
That totally makes a ton of sense. The reason I also said that, as you had mentioned, it does totally make sense with the lack of training. I saw something very unfortunate with a smaller community police officer that, he made numerous mistakes. Explore With Us covered this, and he never caught on to the fact that this guy had a pew pew in his pocket. And then when he got into the car, the pew pew hit the back of the police seat. And then that's what that was. And the guy just said his handcuffs. Somehow he's able to put the pew pew back in. They don't search him as they get back to the police station because he's supposedly cooperating. They take his cuffs off. He then goes into this room and he pulls out his pew pew and boom. Well, little did he know that there was a camera in this room that covered all of it. It wasn't just the officer's cam on his chest, but just like right there. I mean, sure, I guess it could have potentially just been no different. When you do something for so long, you become a little bit lapsed and lazy.
Yeah. Well, also too, like lack of training too,
Boom, right there, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm not law enforcement, but I know myself personally is I would probably over search somebody numerous times before I allowed them to come into a room or something like that with me. I wouldn't have just done the one pat down. Once you got back to the police station, I would have patted you down again,
Agreed. And Neil, going back to what you said, different sets of view, different eyes, right? That's one thing I did like about rookies is that whenever we be patting down someone or having someone at gunpoint or whatever, right? After the whole thing, during it, they'd be kind of asking questions and or like example, right? We have this guy at gunpoint, someone's patting him down, and then the rookie would be like, "Hey, I didn't see that officer check that pocket." And we're like, "Oh, hey, Marquez, check that pocket real quick." What did we find? A knife. Like, okay, good eye. Because like you said, you get complacent. You do calls over and over and over throughout the whole day, right? Like 5 to 10 calls or even more throughout the day. Plus you got to write reports. It just gets complacent. You know what I mean? And you know what it is? That's saying, when you freaking get complacent, that's where it's ringing at the doorbell,
Yep, with anything, dude. So that's why I had just found that to be interesting as you had been speaking about that stuff. Gnarly, man. Well, do you have anything else you would like to touch base on tonight before we do let you get back to things you need to attend to?
No, man, I just really appreciate hanging with you, Kenny. And man, I'm glad we got to hook up, dude, and do this. And it's been a minute. So yeah, I'm glad to be on, man. And I appreciate you. And, good luck on the things you got to do. And if you guys listen to podcasts, go look me up or that's about it. That's all I got.
Ooh, you legends, you, my creatures of the night. I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for hanging out tonight. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share the truth to the algorithm. We will catch you on the next one.